Okay, let's unpack this. That feeling, standing over a suitcase, doesn't matter if it's for a weekend or like a huge trip, it can feel, well, pretty daunting.
Absolutely. Staring into the void almost.
Yeah. So today we're doing a deep dive. We've got these great notes from a listener, all sourced from arookatravel.com, specifically the beer section.
Right. And what's really interesting is how deep it goes. It's not just, here's a list. It's about the why behind the packing.
Exactly. Different trips, different places,
Sure.
city breaks versus heading out into the wild.
And it covers everything: medical stuff, survival basics, security, which is more than just padlocks, apparently.
And electronics even.
Yeah.
Even fun stuff, which I like.
Me too. Can't forget the fun.
So our mission, let's say, is to pull out the really useful bits, the surprising stuff maybe,
Yeah.
that helps you pack smarter next time, more confidence, less stress, sound good.
Sounds like a plan. Where do we start?
Well, the absolute number one thing that jumps out like right away.
Yeah.
It's pack light. Seems obvious, maybe.
It does, but it's foundational. It comes up again and again, no matter the trip type. But it's more than just less stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about being smart. Versatile items. Things that do double duty.
Exactly. Maximize that space. Minimize the decisions you have to make during the trip.
And there's that story in the notes about poor Arooka, let's call him.
Oh, the tent story.
Yeah.
Yes.
Went for the cheapest tent on a month-long trip, and then rain. Lots of it.
Continuous rain. Yeah. Sounds miserable.
Totally. So the lesson was, don't be cheap with the essentials. Quality matters when it really counts.
And that's the real insight, I think. It's not just the money up front. It's the cost to your experience, your comfort, even your safety sometimes, if you go too cheap on crucial gear.
Makes total sense. And connecting that back to the feeling overwhelmed thing.
Well, less stuff is just less stress, isn't it? Less to carry, less to track, less to worry about losing.
Frees up your brain, basically. Lets you actually enjoy the travel part.
Precisely.
Okay, so building on that, the notes then talk about adapting.
Yeah.
City versus country travel. How does that change things?
Big difference. In a city, you can usually find things. Accommodation, food, basic toiletries. They're generally available.
Right, so you don't need to pack everything.
Exactly. But, and this is the caveat, you still pack light because you're still moving around, maybe on public transport, walking miles.
And cities have their own challenges, right? Like keeping an eye on your stuff.
Definitely. Vigilance against thieves is a big point for city travel in these notes. You're more exposed in some ways.
Okay, so convenience, yes, but don't let your guard down or overpack. What about heading out? More remote, country travel.
That flips the script a bit. You need to be way more self-sufficient. Think
Yeah.
shelter, food, water purification, maybe more first aid capability.
So the pack light rule still applies, but the content changes drastically.
Right. You still prioritize, but you have to include those survival essentials and things for comfort, which leads to that other great story.
The food drop.
Yeah. The UHT milk, the chocolate, even dehydrated ice cream dropped into the Canadian wilderness.
I love that. It shows you can be prepared for the tough stuff, but still prioritize, morale boosters.
Yeah.
Little comforts.
Exactly. Those little things can make a huge difference when you're out there.
Okay, so destination matters. What about trip length? The notes break it down.
Yeah.
Single day, multi-day, long term.
Yeah, there's a clear progression. Single day is super basic, right? Maybe a small first aid kit, water, snacks, maybe rain gear or sunblock, depending. Very minimal.
Makes sense.
Multi-day, you start adding layers, change the clothes, more electronics, chargers become crucial. Maybe a basic travel office setup starts to creep in.
And then long term.
That's where it gets, well, more complex. The range of potential issues just expands, especially medical stuff. You need to think much more seriously about a comprehensive kit.
Gotcha. And weaving through all this is the season, right? You can't pack the same for Iceland in winter as you do for Thailand in summer.
Absolutely not. The notes are really good on this. Winter, it's all about moisture management and layering.
That tip about polypropylene long underwear instead of cotton, that's key, isn't it?
Huge. Cotton holds moisture, gets cold, dangerous even. Polypropylene wicks it away. Big difference for comfort and safety.
And spraying. It mentioned skin infections.
Yeah, something about potentially damp conditions or maybe increased insect activity. Recommends more washing, maybe even gloves sometimes. Bit specific, but interesting.
Summer seems straightforward. Stay cool, hydrated.
Pretty much loose, breathable clothing. Sun protection, hydration, hydration, hydration.
Then fall.
Kind of like spring or summer, but be ready for sudden temperature drops. Always have an extra layer like a jacket handy.
Okay, let's dive into that medical kit piece. You mentioned it gets more complex for longer trips.
Definitely. The notes break it down nicely. A basic day kit, a short duration kit, and then longer term considerations.
And the contents are interesting. It's not just standard Western stuff.
No, it includes Western meds, sure, marked with the W, but also Chinese remedies, Z, and even Ayurvedic soap. It's a really holistic approach.
Yeah, I saw that. Like Tibetan roll-on pain relief next to ibuprofen.
Yeah.
And throat fire herbal things alongside regular lozenges.
Yeah.
It's about finding what works for you.
Exactly. Personalizing it.
Then there's that special item point, bringing your own penicillin for long-term trips. That sounds intense.
It does sound extreme, yeah. But the note mentions concerns about medicine quality or availability in some places. It really hammers home the idea of being proactive about your health, especially if you're going off the beaten path for a long time.
Wow. Okay. A serious consideration. Now, switching gears a bit, survival essentials. The very basic survival kit seems surprisingly small.
It is designed to be something you could even theoretically take on a plane. It's about maximum utility from minimal items.
So what's in it? Whistle.
Yep, a Fox 40 whistle loud, no pee to get stuck,
Nice.
sewing kit, safety pins, tape,
Tape is always useful.
always, and Tabasco sauce.
Tabasco. Seriously. Why?
The notes don't explicitly say why that specifically, but you could imagine uses flavoring bland food, maybe even some kind of deterrent. Intriguing, anyway.
Okay. What else?
Foam earplugs, a tensor clip, tissues, waterproof matches, just the bare bones to signal, repair, and manage basic comfort in a pinch.
Simple, reliable stuff. Got it. Now, security. This section surprised me. It wasn't just about locks.
No, not at all. It really focuses on the behavioral side, like referencing ancient Egyptian etiquette advice of the maxims of Taotep.
Wow. Okay. So it's about how you carry yourself.
Yeah. Being a good guest, basically. Respecting local culture, representing where you come from while keeping a positive attitude. The idea is don't make yourself a target. Blend in, be polite.
So less about physical barriers, more about social awareness. Makes sense.
Then it does get into protecting yourself from crime, but it frames it as common sense, which,
Isn't always common.
Exactly. So it lists specific don'ts. Avoid illegal stuff, obviously.
Yeah.
Steer clear of sketchy services or situations. Be aware. Project confidence. Don't flash cash or expensive gear.
And be careful with electronics. And strangers.
Right. Don't lend out your phone or laptop casually. Be cautious about going off with people you just met. And it specifically mentions avoiding giving money to beggars.
Yeah, that example about begging in China was eye-opening. The coached beggar. The fake monks.
It's a tough one because you want to be compassionate, but it shows how easily that can be exploited. Need to understand the local context, potential scams.
So observation and awareness are key again. Okay, electronics. Back to packing light.
Always back to packing light. Even with tech, bring what you need, not every gadget you own.
And the crucial bit isn't just the device, is it?
No, it's the cables,
Yeah.
the chargers, and making sure they actually work where you're going. Voltage compatibility.
Ah, yes. A universal adapter. Lifesaver.
Definitely. A good one with USB ports is invaluable. Saves space, handles multiple things. A dead phone can be a real problem.
True. Now, briefly, this travel office idea
Yeah.
sounds pretty intense.
Well, it shows different levels. It could just be your laptop and a mouse for checking emails. Or it could be a full remote work setup.
Or even just an emergency USB stick.
Right. With key documents and software, so you could use an internet cafe or hotel computer if your main gear fails. It's about thinking through your potential needs for staying connected or productive.
Okay. And finally, we get to the fun stuff. Maybe the most important category.
Could be. It's easy to get so wrapped up in the practicalities that you forget about enjoyment.
So, pack things just for you. A book, cards.
Absolutely. Combat boredom during downtime. But also, maybe small things to share. Unique snacks from home. Maybe balloons if it's appropriate for where you're going and who you might meet.
Little gestures. Nice. Fostering connection.
Exactly. Enhances your trip and maybe someone else's too.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, this deep dive into packing, what's the big picture takeaway?
I think it's about thoughtful preparation, really anticipating your needs based on where, when, and how long you're going. It's about respect for the place, prioritizing essentials for safety and well-being.
But not forgetting comfort and enjoyment.
Right. It's a balance. Packing smart lets you travel better.
It really does feel like packing is sort of a mini version of travel itself, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Prepared but adaptable, mindful, open.
Well put. Yeah.
Okay, final thought then for you listening. Thinking about all this city, country, long trips, short trips, safety, fun. What's one thing you now realize you might be overpacking? Or maybe underpacking? Definitely something to chew on for your next adventure.
Good question to ponder.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive.